I took a little trip to my favorite nursery recently, and I went just to get some potting soil for up-potting all of the seedlings that I've got growing that are ready to move up to bigger pots. And I just couldn't help myself. I walked around and I found a couple of things that are going to be perfect to fill some, what I would call, holes in my landscaping. So I'm going to share those with you. And the first one is at the back of my house. There is kind of a big empty space that I felt like needed something to vertically provide somewhat of like an anchor in that space. And so I had originally purchased a little over a year and a half ago, a type of, I think it was a spruce maybe. It was a blue pinpoint. It was from Proven Winners. I think I mentioned it in this video. And it looked nice. It was going to be great once it reached full size to be the perfect position and size to fill this space the way I wanted it to. And by the next year, when spring started to come around, and this was last spring, and things were waking up, there was a lot of burned bits looking. I asked at the nursery, and they said trim that stuff off, but there was way too much. When I went back and looked at it, it would have been like almost half the evergreen. So I decided just to leave it and see what happened, and eventually that brown spread to everything. So this is something that I found that I think will be a perfect replacement, and the tree person at the nursery I talked to said that this is a great choice. It is something that won't have to be messed with. It won't have to be pruned at all or trimmed or just, like I won't have to do anything with it. It won't need any maintenance. So here's a short video showing you about the couple of finds when I went to the nursery recently.
So let me get to the exact name. It is, a Virginian Western Arborvitae. And Oakland Nursery, if you're in the anywhere near Central Ohio, I love them. They're great. Their people are always very, very helpful. So I'm going to just dig a little hole here about where the other one was that I tried. And the other thing she told me, if you're in a climate similar to mine, zone 6-ish, she said that those that I had before, the blue pinpoint, it's just not hardy enough for our area. So I'm still kind of working on this bed, but this is going to help give me that vertical, kind of fill in this spot with something substantial-ish, but will only get about 6 feet wide. So I'm going to double check to make sure I've got at least 3 feet here. So it'll be about in the middle of this bed. I've got some hostas back here and some heucheras, and right now I've got some black-eyed Susans, but I may move those. Got some daylilies over here. My plan is to, as these get to where they can be divided, add more over here along with some of the things that I've started from seed. But I think this is going to give some structure and some year-round color to this space that's going to really look nice. So once I get it planted, I'll step back, give you kind of the view of what it's going to look like. Not much different than it looks though, like right now in the pot. And so I'll be back in a flash. This is the other area where I found a couple things to fill what I think of as a hole. This I bought a couple years ago. I ordered it online from a website called Garden Crossing. They have a lot of Proven Winners plants. In fact, I think they probably have almost anything you could get from Proven Winners. They have. And it's called Anna's Magic Ball. It's a type of an arborvitae, and it stays tiny like this. Its maximum size is only supposed to be about 2 feet, and I think it's probably at least halfway there. So it will stay pretty tiny, and it's a spot here in a front flower bed where I've got some lilacs behind and a snow mound spirea. I think that's what that's called. It gets the most lovely little white blooms all along the stems in the spring. It's just so pretty. And I had originally thought if I liked the magic ball, I would get more. And when I checked at my local nursery, gosh, they had them in a much bigger size that looked like they were probably fully grown, but they were almost $40 a piece. And I just felt like that was a lot. So I went looking around and I stumbled on these two that are types of junipers. This is a lime glow, and it's $10 because it's such a little pot, but it doesn't get super big. I'll have to see if I can find the stats online and post it on top of this video. But I thought the coloring was a nice kind of mix where it has some of this like sort of limey green that the magic ball has. You can see it's still kind of coming into its spring, summer coloring as it's coming, in the wintertime. I didn't realize, I thought this was dead, but it just, I guess, changes color a little bit in the winter. But this has some aspects to it that talk to this guy, and they kind of have some similarities, but it also has some of this, like, I don't know, almost a rusty color, which kind of plays off of this guy, which is called a Gold Coast juniper, also very budget friendly at $15. And it doesn't get big, but it does get a little bigger. It says it could be up to 5 feet tall, but only 1 to 2 feet wide, and it's going to take 10 years. So hopefully hopefully still around. But so I thought this might make a nice little trio tucked in here. Nothing's going to get super big. What I can't decide quite yet is, do I want this one that's going to get a little taller on which side of this rock? I think I kind of like it better there, but I want to step back and look at it to decide for sure, and then put this in front. And then it's like they're all kind of talking to each other. Nobody's the same, but they complement each other really nicely. And none of them are going to get super big. And that one in particular, I have multiple years before it's going to get so big that I wouldn't be able to move it without risking, fatal consequences. So if in 3 or 4 years I feel like, gosh, I just need low things here, well, then at that point I can pop this out, find a new place for it in my landscaping, and maybe at that point I would be able to justify getting another one of these and sticking it in its place, maybe one there and one there. And this guy, I can't remember exactly, but I don't think it gets much taller than maybe 18 inches. So it'll stay a little lower than this, especially since it's smaller now. It's behind in years of growth, but it does spread a little bit. So I'm hoping it helps kind of fill in some of this empty space here. And right now you can see there are some daffodils coming up here behind. So those are going to have to be moved at some point, but I'll wait till they're done for this year. And then I'll dig up the bulbs and probably relocate them over here somewhere. Maybe there's kind of an empty spot. We'll see what all I end up putting in here that I've started from seed. But I think this makes a nice little grouping. It's not going to be so big, even that one that's going to get a little taller, that it will compete, I don't think, because the lilacs should get bigger. They're only a couple years old, and I just think that's going to be pretty. And it'll give me some year-round color right here, where most things, pretty much everything in this area, other than my little magic ball, are deciduous. And so they, lose leaves, or they kind of die back in the wintertime. So I think that'll make a nice little grouping. So when I've got it all planted, I will come back and show you. And I'll give you a quick glance back at the one that I planted behind the house. And then that'll be it for today. So, back before I got it planted, with just a couple suggestions I forgot to mention. When you're planting in an established flower bed and you want to try to minimize disturbing the look of your mulch, if you're not planning to mulch this year, which I am not planning to, unless I'm going to buy just a few bags of what's already down to fill in some places where I planted and it looks really bad. But otherwise, I'm not planning to do the full scale mulching this year because I just did that last year and it gets expensive. But anyways, take your plant out of the can. I didn't mean for this to be on its side, but it won't hurt it for a minute. It's windy out here right now. And get as much dirt to make your hole and put it into the can One, that kind of gives you an idea once you've got the hole at least, minimally big enough for your new plant, and it helps keep it out of the mulch. And then if you don't need all of it, because you probably won't, there's a root ball that's going to go in that hole. You have it already in something that you can carry it to wherever you might spread it out, whether it's in the yard or, in my case, in my woods. Also, once I get this dug out, I'm going to put a little handful of something called Biotone. It is a starter fertilizer from the company Espoma, Espoma, and it's really good. It's an organic product. It is very gentle, so it's not something you have to be super careful about not getting too much in there. It won't hurt anything if you accidentally put more than it says to, and it gives some really good nutrition and stuff to the plant to get it started, and encourages a good, strong, healthy root system. So thought I'd share a couple tips. Now I'm going to get this planted. Okay, planted. So right now, I love how this looks. I know it's a little bit fairy garden-esque with the size comparison, but I love this idea of having a little bit of all year round greenery. Oh, by the way, squirrel flowers, spring flowers, aren't they so pretty? So anyways, I like this. I think this is going to be nice here. It'll be a nice thing. I positioned it so that as you come up from the driveway, the taller thing will be kind of in the back. Same thing as you come around the walkway. And I think then with that rock right there, as these grow, that's going to just be so lovely. And yes, I am a little curious to know how it's going to work with the lilacs behind, but I'm actually giving the lilacs another year or two to make sure that I've got them in their best position, because I'm a little concerned that maybe they don't get enough sun here to bloom to their best effect. So I want to give it another couple years and see how they do, and then possibly I might move them if I decide this is not quite as much sun as they need. But right here should get plenty of sun for the evergreens because of the angle, but these being the lilacs tucked up against the house, I'm just not sure they're getting what they need. But let me walk around here and show you the one in the back. Okay, as I come around here to the back, you can see I love how the shape of this tree, I just think the structure is so interesting. It's a little more open and almost lacy in the way the leaves or the branches, and they have a little bit of a curl to them. The lady at the nursery said that it should maintain that look, and so I can already imagine as this grows, and it's going to fit just perfectly between those windows and reach up to about here. I think that's just going to be gorgeous. And again, this is a space that does get some shade, mostly more in the afternoon, but I think this being taller will be fine, whereas the hostas being lower, they get more of the dappled in the hotter part of the afternoon. So I think this is going to get enough shade, enough sun. And but just to be on the cautious side for both this one and the one in the front of the house, I tried to plant it on the little bit higher end. It looks like it's level, but I did make sure that it's in the hole up a little bit, so that if we have really rainy times of the year, which we do, it's Ohio, it should hopefully not be too wet for the evergreen, because evergreens don't like being super wet. So there we are. Thanks for joining me here today in a very windy Aunt Susan's garden.